Alright, y'all, so this is the big video I've kind of been hyping up for some time and stuff. This is my one and only Dude Perfect stat sheet made in Excel. So today we're going to be going over kind of everything that I've been working on. And I'm really happy about it. I've been curious about a lot of these for a while now. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with cool, not cool. So this is the sheet, and I'm color-coded everything. So the legend here says that this shade of green, the light green, is cool. This light red is not cool. This dark green is super cool, and then this dark red is super not cool. So this chart to the left here is basically descriptive of every majority result that every member of the Dude Perfect crew would have gotten on a specific episode. So these gaps right here are like when there wasn't a cool not cool, and there's like about 5 episodes in the history of Overtime that do not have a cool not cool in them. So there's gaps there. These gaps, these one player gaps, are kind of when someone would have not been there or would have been suspended due to like a bad game beforehand. Like in Overtime 11, for instance, there was a budget episode, right? You had to go under like $50 or whatever. And Kobe went over that, so he got suspended for the next episode, which is also coincidentally the only episode where every single result, I think, was a super cool. So funny. And then Corey was having a hard time these past couple episodes, so he had to get a majority cool for episode 16, and he didn't get it, so he was suspended for 17. This time he was not around for whatever reason. Apparently he had COVID or something, and I had to make a special column for Mark Roberry right here. So he's got one super cool, which is pretty cool. Now, there are a couple weird quirks about this chart. So I wanted everything to kind of be a bit more streamlined and consistent. So for episode 22, which was the Christmas gift episode, so it was always going to be a super not cool or a super cool. Like always a super result, basically. I got rid of every super result because I realized that might beef up stats that might, it might make it like a bit like as you can see here, right? If I had counted that properly, then Cody would have had a super not cool, which it's not fair, you know what I mean? Because it's just very it just like breaks a lot of streaks and like all that stuff. I just wanted to be consistent. And then on 23 and 31, it was opposite days, so you were actually trying for a not cool or super not cool. You were trying to get the worst item possible. So I flipped those. So this is actually super cool in the real episode, but I flipped this one so super not cool because it's just because at the end of the day too, if you randomly see a lot of red on here too, because again, this is another thing too. If I had done it properly and like actually used the typical result from the episode, Garrett would have snapped his streak of all of his green that he had here. So you know what I mean? Like that's stuff I wanted to avoid. So I'm glad that I did that. And finally right here, this is the final results. So Garrett is by far the best. Like he has had 1 not cool, 0 super not cools, and is very, very good across the board. And the worst by far, I think, is Corey. Corey has had 10 not cools and 2 super not cools. Albeit Ty actually has the worst record in the super not cool category because of 2 really bad episodes in the last little while. And then Cody and Kobe are pretty mediocre for the most part. However, Cody does have the most super cools out of any member, so that's pretty cool. And then Mark over here has a 100% perfect record. 1 super cool. Alright, so there's 2 different charts on this because I wanted to save space. So this chart represents the segment tally. So I wanted to tally, this is like something that I was personally interested in. It was how many times an episode had shown up. Because I also wanted to see how many just random segments that they've done once or twice and never done again. I wanted to see how many of those there were. So I sorted it by like the most to the least, and then if there was like more than one of like a certain amount of times it showed up, which was quite a lot especially for 2 and 1, I would sort it by how early it showed up in the show. So that's why Wives vs. Chad is higher on the list than Trailer Park, because Wives vs. Chad first episode was episode 5, and Trailer Park was episode 26. Now, Only thing that might not be consistent about this is that I might have missed some mail times, because mail time is not really a segment as much as it is like a little extra thing that kind of appears in between segments. So I may have missed some of the newer ones. And I'll explain how we can fix that later, because I got an idea as well for kind of updating this. So, but anyway, back to the actual tally here. So, Wheel Unfortunate has had the most. It has only been in it has only missed 1, 2, and 3 times. And it went like 20 episodes as well without any omissions from the overtime video. So, that's pretty good. Cool Not Cool has only missed 5, like you said, like you saw earlier. Get Crafty is actually a pretty late addition, but has appeared more than Betcha has now, which is pretty crazy. Absurd Records was big early on and kind of just ended after a while. Top 10, also a bit more of a later addition, but also is pretty popular. And then it starts just kind of getting smaller and smaller. You see like a lot of favorites kind of early and then also later, like Taste Test was a pretty big one at one point. Game Time, Judge Duty as well was a pretty cool one. And then this is interesting, because this was actually originally going to be its own like series in Dude Perfect, but it didn't do very well, I think, when they did it, so they just made it its own little segment. I'm glad they're still doing it though. It's a nice segment. This is one of those like sponsored segments. There's a lot of sponsored segments too that have only shown up like once. Like there's Commercial Clash, which was meant to like promote this product, as well as name this, win that, and like which was kind of like for a company and stuff. A lot of little stuff like that. And then yeah, it's interesting. Like you see this one, which was actually a cool idea, but they only did it once. There was a bloopers episode. There was Magic Time. All that. So yeah, it's a pretty cool chart and stuff. And I think they've done a lot of stuff. They've tried a lot of stuff for sure, and they're still trying new stuff now to see if anything kind of works in the future. But so far I think at this point they've really found like what the best episodes are for them. Like these ones up here. These like 6 here have worked pretty well for them. Now let's go to Wheel Unfortunate. So Wheel Unfortunate. I was also interested in this because obviously Corey is known as the one who always gets picked, right? So, or at least in the earlier ones, he was always known as the guy who got picked. So I want to make it clear to you right now. I haven't watched a whole lot of their videos like as they've come out over the past year, so a lot of this newer stuff was actually pretty new to me and everything, and you'll see kind of more of my surprise when we get into the battle stats later. But like when I was watching, like back when it was like earlier on in like its lifespan when it went up, Corey was like always very religiously picked all the time. Like you could see 3 times in a row, another time and stuff, all that. So the person who's actually been picked the least amount of times is not Ty, because Ty actually went the longest without getting picked. He wasn't picked until overtime 10. But Cody's only been picked twice. The first ever time, and then the 29th episode. So he's last place. These 2 don't really count. They're just extra ones, and they only like had a chance to get picked at one time anyway. So it's don't really count that. But like in terms of like full on, like the full series or whatever, Cody is the least amount, and then Ty obviously is second, for sure. Gear has been picked quite a few times, but is actually behind Kobe, which I didn't expect. Kobe like wasn't picked as much early on, I think, but like now Kobe has started to get a bit more segments, and then Corey of course has the most of 10. But honestly, I expected it to be like way more that he was picked in. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Here's probably the smallest spreadsheet, but still a pretty cool one. Betcha and Get Crafty winners. I was on the fence about doing this, but this one is pretty cool. So just to let you know too, because I forgot to do this earlier, my friend Ryan, or Crystal Mark 2000 on YouTube, helped out with this. He did this whole thing for me, like all this final results and everything. And then my sister, who's known as Beals Base, did a lot of the later cool stuff, and also helped with some of the battle stats later on, kind of here and there when I was getting sick of it and all that. So thanks to them. I'll link their channels in the description later on. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but I just totally forgot, so whatever. But you have... So yeah, these are kind of like the... because typically betchas are picked in like pairs, right? Like there's like groups of people. And like, especially on like, there's like ones too where it's like everybody versus like one person. Like this was... this betcha, I think, was how... If could a car horn last 30 minutes? And Garrett was the only one who didn't think it would go. And then you see this one, these 2 right here, where Cody like did some insane one and no one thought he was gonna be able to do it. Like I think this was swim a mile and this one was bench 405 pounds underwater. And yeah, you can kind of see now. Now that I say that, it's no surprise that he's like by far like leading in terms of like most betches won. He's only lost one, I think. Yeah, one. This one, number 21. Like, which was a I'm not sure what that one was actually. I totally forgot. It might have been the model planes or like the styrofoam planes, how far they could go or whatever. I'm not really sure. But yeah, he's almost unbeaten on betches, which is pretty crazy. He's a flawless record on that stuff. And Tyler is next with 5. He's been pretty good on betches as well. Kobe and Corey are tied, and Garrett specifically is very bad. He's only won 1, and that was number 17 when they did the they put all that cotton candy into that cup, and it didn't work at all. And Ty actually was going to be with Kobe on this one, but he bailed, so I did add him here because he, at the end of the day, he did pick this side. So you can take this one what you will, because he did start with Kobe, but I think he did technically win. Now Get Crafty. This one's a newer addition to Overtime, but it's super good. I love this one. Now, yeah, if you watch it, Ty's like the one who just builds everything. He's very good at stuff, so he's like very good at this. Like he's won 4 in a row. He lost 4 of them. This one specifically I need to mention because it's a little asterisk. This one had to be split into 2 parts because everybody was so good at it, like way better, because they were meant to like design some contraption, right, to make it so an ostrich egg wouldn't break, and they went through all 4 stages and everyone survived. So they had to like get a helicopter and like push it to OT 26 to actually just determine a winner. So that's why it's 25 and 26 technically, but it's the same. It's the same Get Crafty like challenge, so I just bundled them into one, and Garrett ended up winning that one. So yeah, Ty's won 7, which is really crazy. Garrett has won 2. Yeah, like that's the thing. Ty's also like by himself when it comes to how many he's won. Like no one's even close to him. Like Garrett's won 2. He's been okay. Sometimes like he won the egg drop. I'm not sure which one this one's. And then Cody and Kobe have both won 1. They found a good one. And then Corey, who's like very famously been bad at like all Get Crafties, basically has yet to win 1. Maybe someday he will win 1, but we'll see. All right, guys. So I'm saving this one for last. All right, I'm gonna do one more time. All right, guys. So I saved this one for last because it's probably the hardest one to do. I have checked because I used a playlist to help do this. There's 73 battles, you guys know, and like they're still doing them like a lot, you know what I mean? So it's tough to do this. So I'm gonna forget about this for a minute, and I'm gonna get into some obvious disclaimers right now. I separated the solo and team battle results because, as y'all know, when Kobe won this battle, it was not considered his first because Corey was with him. No one thought it was his first until sumo battle, right? So I decided, hey, to make it so it doesn't pollute the stats as much, I'm just going to separate it because it's much different. And also, this is the only time where there's actually a runner-up because there's 3 teams for this one. Every other team battle has only had 2, so there's no runner-ups. It's just a loser. So, so let me explain some other things. So not every battle is the same in terms of how it's judged either, which is something that I have to keep reminding myself. So some battles have 3 finalists or whatever. So in this case, there's 3. There's Tyler, Garrett, and Kobe. And Tyler obviously won. And then there's others where it's like there's only 2. And like for instance, this one was Cody versus Kobe. This was actually a tiebreaker, so technically it shouldn't have been finalist, but whatever. I'm not really changing it now. And then also some challenges don't even have, or some battles don't even have like a finale or anything. They just have like everybody against each other, and then whoever's the highest wins. So that's the case with like a plastic golf club battle, where like it would be weird to have a finale because it's like you're all facing up to get like the lowest amount of strokes possible. So it'd probably be easier to not have a finale for that. So everybody was involved with that. So whoever came second would get the runner-up. I never had 2 runner-ups unless they were tied, because, and looking back at it, I should have had the first 3 because it would have been better for like, because I could then I could have said, hey, podium finishes instead of runner-up, but whatever. It's too late because I went a long time before kind of having that epiphany. So the only times that I have more than one runner-up is if they're tied. So Tyler and Kobe first beside football battle were tied at 12 behind Cody. So they both are runners-up technically. And then this one's a special case because this was a tie. So this is the only tie in the history of all the battles. Because Tyler and Corey both got 3 and everything, and since it was already the finale and everything, they couldn't. There was like no other chance, so they decided to just cut the trophy in half and just split it to everybody, and they just tied. So, and there's not really a clear winner here. That's also why there's no finale here, is because the finale was between these two, so there's no really finalist besides them. And then what else was there? That's like really important. Yeah. Also, some of the team battles are different. So there's like. Some of them have 2 people in them, some have 3. Because trampoline charades battle, right, was like Garrett and Cody. Because one of the people, I think Kobe was, Kobe was judging. So he was like not playing on a team, and then it would be Garrett and Cody versus Tyler and Corey, right? So this was, so there'd be 2 people. I would rather have like an extra guest come on, or just Panda, and have 3 people. So that's the case with the Warship battle, whatever that is. Yeah, Tyler, Garrett, and Panda, and then this one as well, which also had Panda in it. Tyler, Kobe, and Corey. And yeah, that's about it. Also, another thing too, later episodes, because for another reason I'm going to explain later on this video, I wanted to have the real names, but I also realized that it might be hard for people to find the original battles if I do that. So I put because a lot of the later battles have this bad habit of like having different titles from what the actual battle's called. Like, which isn't an issue at all in the earlier ones, but specifically a lot of the later ones have that issue. So I have changed this, so the actual battle name's right here, and then this is the title of the video, so people can actually find the video. Alright guys, so here we are at we're going to go through the final results, and I'll mention some little quirks that you don't see in the stats, because I was going to write it all out, but I'm like, no, I think I've done enough already. So Ty is like way ahead of everybody else in like every category. Like, he's second place in finale finishes, and then first by far in wins. He has 26 of them. Like, even from like the old battles to like now, he's always been like a winner and everything. He's been winning all the time. He's had some dry spots. Like, he had this stretch from High Speed Sports Battle at Bass Fishing Battle where he didn't win anything for like almost a whole year. Because Corey had his like stretch of like dominance at this point. So there's like stuff like that, but typically he's always been very, very good. And whenever he isn't a winner, he's always in the finale typically. Like, there's only a couple episodes really, like a couple battles really, in like all of them. Because this adds up to like 46 total like finale finishes technically. Albeit like I'm separating it from like wins obviously, but like technically he's still in the finale, so he's 46. So he's like in 2/3 of all the battles he's been like he's like been good enough to get into like the top 3, or at least like run up behind like the winner or whatever. Like, which is like crazy compared to like everybody else on this list. So that was to be expected, obviously. So Garrett here, he's always aimed for the podium, and it's actually gotten him quite a good bit of finale finishes as well. He has 15 of them, and has 10 wins. His first win was All Sports Golf Battle, and yeah, he's always been aiming for podium. There has been like stretches where he's been very bad at like right here especially. He's always been like last place and stuff a lot of the time, because that's just kind of how it is sometimes. But he's been like solid for the most part. His last win, from what I can tell, was Corn Maze Nerf Battle. All right, cool. Next one is Cody. So he's the exact same amount of finale finishes as Garrett, but has a bit more wins than he does, 13. So the thing about Cody that I didn't notice, and this is unbelievable looking at it now, he had probably the biggest dry spell besides Kobe, of course, when it came to winning battles. He won quite a few early ones. Like, he won this one, he won the RC battle, he won some inside. Like, he won quite a few of the early ones. So he like got this reputation as being pretty winning and stuff, and like he was. But he went from this battle where like he in 2016 where he got metal detector, right? He wouldn't win again until freeze frame, like a whole year later. And then like another dry spell until he won Nerf Blasters. Obviously, I'm not counting like the team battles, but like when it comes to solo stuff, he like had big. And And like as of late, he started winning a bit more stuff. He's been really good at the metal detector battles specifically. He's been very good at that stuff. And he has been like a good finale finisher, but he's definitely had big gaps when it comes to his wins sometimes. However, recently in the past year, which I didn't know myself because I haven't been watching too much, he's had a dominance. He's won the RC helicopter, and then he won 3 straight. Just like another person on this list I'm going to get to in a minute. Like, he's been real good as of late on this list. Albeit he had a bit of a dry spell the past couple battles, but he had a very good 2021, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's Cody for you. Now, Kobe. So obviously, he has the least amount of wins, but not by much, believe it or not. And I'm going to explain why. So he, especially in the early days, he was known as being the one who could not win a battle. Everybody else won a battle, like Ty won his, Corey won his, Garrett, Cody, like everybody won like one of their battles, like kind of in the first 5 or so. He didn't, and that's the thing, this is a team battle, so I don't really think it counts personally. His first win was until 2017, like 2 years after they started. It was a giant spoon battle. And then it was kind of like a question of when he get a second win, which was a long time coming until 2019 when he won RC airplane battle. And then it would be another whole year until he won giant grouper fishing battle, which I didn't expect. I thought it'd easily be Ty on this one. He's known as a fisherman, or Cody, one of the two. And then, however, a lot of his like recent wins have actually been, like, most of his wins have actually been recent. Like, he won Soapbox Derby, which I didn't expect. And then 2 of the last 3 battles he's won. So that's actually pushed him up to 6. Like, if I had made this when I was originally going to 2 years ago, I'm going to get into that actually as well, because it's something I want to mention. If I had made this when I was originally going to, he would have had like 3, maybe not even, maybe it might not even have been when Giant Grouper was out. So maybe 2. So yeah, a lot of his wins have been recent, which is good. However, and this is something that I kind of knew in the back of my mind, but didn't really, but kind of is crazy looking at now. He is number 1 in finale finishes. Number 1. Because even in the earlier battles, no, there has been stretches too where he's been dead last. Specifically in a lot of the earlier like battles, he was dead last in a lot of stuff, or like kind of shortly out of like podium reach or whatever. But like, I remember like in 2018 when I was really watching him, he was always in the podium all the time. Like, yeah, like let me see here. Giant Darts, he was in the finale. Dirt Bike, he was in the finale. Like, so many of these, like he was in the finale. In a lot of these, but he just couldn't close it out. Like, and it was always down to the wire with him too. Like, he'd always like all sports baseball in specific was pretty crazy. He would like, he almost won. He was like, he like almost beat out Corey, but just couldn't quite do it. Same with the giant basketball arcade battle. He was really close as well, but he couldn't quite stick it. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's been an interesting guy to watch. Like, he's been it's always like interesting because it's kind of crazy that he hasn't gotten more wins of how dominant he's been on that front, because he's been very, very convincing there. You know what I mean? Now, I want to get to like who's also very interesting in this, Corey. So he actually only has 2 more wins than his twin brother. So 8 wins, right? And then only 8 finale and runner-up finishes, like by far the worst. So I kind of expected this as well. I've seen with him that whenever he makes it to the finale, he's much more likely than Kobe is to win. Like, much more likely. And I'll get to like his streak in a second. But like, he's been horrible specifically at like coming anywhere that isn't like dead last or 4th place. Like, he gave like Ty a run for his money quite a few times in the earlier battles, but like, you can see there's many stretches where he just wouldn't even get close. Like, it's odd. Like, I do think, is he worse than Kobe? And like, that's the thing. I do think he's like might be worse than Kobe like overall, because he's only like, there's 73 battles and he's only made it to like in the podium like 16 times, which is like far less than anyone else. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, a lot of streaks. However, I want to get into something interesting. There was a period in 2019 where he was unstoppable, and this is where it is right here. He lost the airsoft battle, right? And this is also coincidentally when Ty had his dry spell of like not even getting to the podium. Like, this was like his worst stretch, probably to this day. So Corey won Model Rocket Battle 2, which was like pretty good, and then he won Nerf Fortnite Blasters, and then he also won All Sports Baseball Battle. So that's 3 in a row, which is like, like a lot of other people don't even like have like close to that. Like, that's a pretty crazy streak. And then all of a sudden, he gets into the finale here, or like he's like second place or whatever, and then he just everything totally falls off for him. Like, he doesn't even make it. Like, you don't see him again. Like, really at all. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, he has a couple of like finale finishes here, but like he doesn't win again for a long time, or even ever really. Like, he doesn't win again. Like, it's crazy. It's really weird with him because he's had like big dry spells, just like Cody and Kobe have. Obviously, like he won the iPhone game battle and didn't win again until coincidentally with the other iPhone game battle, which is Endless Dugger battle. And yeah, it's interesting. Like, I do think he's overall been worse than Kobe, or than in terms of like making it like to the podium even. Like, he's just been he has more wins than Kobe, which I thought he would, because like, again, like I said, whenever he happens to make it to finale, which isn't often, but when he makes it, he typically wins a lot more often. So that's a something I've noticed. So yeah, he's I wouldn't say he's like outright Kobe or anything, because like Kobe is like still has like the longest dry spells of anybody, but like he's yeah, he's interesting, you know what I mean? Okay, let's quickly go over team results, and I'm gonna explain kind of like my idea for keeping this thing alive, you know what I mean? So everybody's actually pretty tight, because there have been, let me count here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 team battles, right? And first one was with Luke Bryan, so there was 3 teams. The Twins actually won that, so they're first place in the team battle. But then Tyler and Gare won to even everything out, so Cody was last place. And then trampoline charades happened, and Cody got his first win here and there. And I didn't include, I want to point out too, when it comes to other people, because I realized that like there's other people in these runner-up categories or whatever. Which I also made a mistake here, and for some reason this isn't a finale, because there was a finale in this. I'm not sure why I put runners up, but whatever. But yeah, Liam Hemsworth is in the finale, and then like in later ones as well too. Like I think Zac Efron. Where's Zac Efron? Hold on. Yeah, Zac Efron was in the finale as well with Kobe. And All Sports Golf Battle, Bryson, who was like I don't know who he is, but I think he's like a good golfer or whatever. He was in the finale as well. Like, there's a lot of guests. I didn't include them on this like I did with like the other leaderboard, because Strip, I just don't care enough. It's like because like they're only gonna be in once max, and it doesn't make sense. It was a lot harder to do this than like any other like part of this really, so I just kind of like left out a lot of like that little stuff like that. Like I would have done like the other ones. Same with Panda as well. But anyway, back to team battles. So yeah, like you kind of see like it's like a lot of trading blows. Like the Twins had a pretty bad spell for a little bit, and then oh yeah, this one. I gave everybody a team battle win here for this one, because they were against the Power Rangers, so they all won this one technically because they were all on the same team. This is the only time in like all the battles where they were all like competing with each other against like the 5 Power Rangers or whatever. So that's like the one. So they all got a win there. So the Twins would have like won that one. But then you can see here, like, they got this one, the Twins. And then Kobe got this one, and then Corey answered back with this one as well. So they kept their ground, but at the end of the day, it's still been, yeah, they're still just a little bit behind everybody else, you know what I mean? Same with, and also I want to mention too, Sparky. I know he's been in a couple of battles, but he's only won one, so I don't really think it's, like, fair to have him in here. He doesn't typically compete. He's usually the one judging as well. Like, he's only really appeared specifically in airsoft battles too, which is something that I don't which is why it's also just like weird to add him in here. Like, he's only kind of in those ones. So that's it for this basically, unless there's like, I hope there's nothing like small I missed or anything. I think I went over everything that I like wanted to go over when it came to like the little stuff. Like, so here's like my idea for keeping this alive, and this is like something that I didn't really think enough about, unfortunately, so this might be hard for some people, but I want to send like a link out to this so that everybody's able to like add on to this as time goes on, because most likely, you guys, I'm gonna probably follow the Dude Perfect like in like 2 weeks again. Like, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I started watching them, like, I haven't even watched them in like a year, right? Like, I started watching them like 2018, right? was with them for a while, and then in 2020 I stopped watching them for a little while after like my first attempt at this, which I'll mention. I did actually want to do this like 2 years ago, but that old project was on my old computer and I lost it a while ago. So because I didn't really move that over when I had to like migrate everything to this computer, so I had to redo the whole thing, which was a little annoying. But actually, I'm kind of glad, because I feel like I feel like there would have been like clear differences into like how I would have wanted things done. You know what I mean? So it's cool that I was kind of able to like redo everything from scratch and really keep everything consistent, because that was the thing I was like really trying to make sure about this, is that I wanted everything to be the same. Like everything, like especially when it came to battles, when like everything was a bit different when it came to finale placements, I wanted it to be as consistent as I can make it. I didn't want to like put 2 runner-ups for one battle and then 1 for another. I didn't want to do that, because I started doing that and I realized, hey, this is unfair to like people. Like I want it to be very clear that like there's no random runner-up finishes being added to this. You know what I mean? Like wins, it's simpler because it's always gonna be one person, unless it's a team battle. But like this, there's a lot of different like differences depending on which battle it is. So yeah, that's something that I'm glad I did, was like really make sure everything was consistent. But yeah, I kind of like fell out of them in like 2020, came back in 2021 for a little bit, and then fell out again. And then recently, I just was kind of like thinking of watching them again, and then here we are. And I immediately remembered that I wanted to do this a while ago, and just decided to get it done because I have the time right now. So I'm most likely, it's gonna be a thing where like once I like am out more again, I'm just gonna forget these guys exist, because that's what always happens. I just forget they exist. So for like a little while, and then I'll just get back into them. You know what I mean? Like that's how it is. So I want there to be a way, if this actually gets up to more than like a couple people, right? Because this might not, right? But if it does, I want there to be a way that people can like edit this in real time and like update it when there's like a new battle or a new overtime episode where there will be like a cool not cool, or a wheel, or a new segment that's got to be added, or whatever, or like a new Betcha or Get Crafty, like all this other stuff. I want there to be a way for people that edit this, especially if I can't do it, because I might not do it. You know what I mean? This might be way behind, and like I won't care because I haven't done it in a while, right? And like what I could do too is, if I actually care enough in the future, I could like make a update video, like showing like newly added stuff, if like enough people actually, or if I just do it in the future. You know what I mean? Like I could do that, but don't count on it, because most likely I'm just gonna forget these guys exist again. So don't really count on anything at this point. So the one annoying thing is that I wish I had done this on Google Docs instead of this, because Excel is a wonky program in that it's not available to everybody. Like you have to pay money, like some sort of trial for it or something. Like, and even my plan is very, very limited. Like I'm lucky to be using this on my personal account, because my school account is actually limited. Like I can't use it after next year, so it would be lost to time. You know what I mean? Like I have it saved to my computer just in case something happens online and like everything gets wiped. But I wish I moved it to Google Docs before this. Unfortunately, I'm not going to bother with all the copying and pasting. That would be just the worst, and I'm honestly just kind of done with this anyway. Like I'm really happy with how it looks, and I think I've done enough. So I'm going to just leave it on here and hope enough people have access to it. And like, if this gets famous for whatever reason, and like enough people are like telling me that they like really want to edit it but they can't, I'll go through the pain, because I really want this to be something that like we can all, for like until like they stop making videos, right? Like until the end of time, like people are able to like update the stat sheet and like really like curve out like the streaks and everything, because this is something that like everyone's, I think, been asking for a long time. Like this is like something that like a lot of people have wanted to know. Like, a lot of people are like even like do for themselves. They've been like, hey, is there like a sheet or whatever that like details all of this stuff? Because truthfully, I think a lot of people want to know, but then no one's willing to put the time in for it. Like, and most likely someone's already done this before and I just don't know about it. That's another thing. I'm sure like within like the 58 million people that sub to Do Perfect, there's one person who's gone through trouble of all this. But I don't mind doing it. It's still fun to me. It's interesting, and it's like kind of got me reconnected as well. Like I actually want to watch them now. But even though like, some of their overtimes recently have been subpar, like I still want to watch them and stuff. So it's been nice. I've enjoyed doing this, even if it's like just a little frustrating with like all the inconsistency and stuff with this. But yeah, so that's my hope, is that we can all edit this. I'm gonna put a link. Basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a link of this, a very public one, put it in the description, and it's gonna be super open, and like anyone can who's able to do it can do it. And if there's any complaints with like not being able to access Excel or whatever, because obviously the mobile port of this is not very good, which is also another thing I realized. I've been doing this whole thing on the computer, and my friend Ryan, who helped me with this, said he couldn't use Excel for this. He had to like find a new way to make it work because it didn't work on his iPad. He doesn't have access to like computer stuff like I do, so it was hard for him. So I want to make it so everybody's able to just do this no matter like what they use or whatever. So if like enough people ask, I will like go through trouble, because there's probably like an easy way to do it that I just don't know about yet. But yeah, that basically concludes everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it like kind of satisfied like a curiosity, right? Because again, this has always been something I've been interested in. I'm glad that I finally went through time to like make it happen, and yeah, I'm hoping that I wish Dude Perfect like a lot of like good luck in the future and stuff. Like they make really good content, and like it's always just fun with them, you know what I mean? Like I can always just watch them and know that it's gonna be like a good video, you know what I mean? Even if it's a little short, or maybe there's a segment I don't like, it'll still be a good video. Like I like these guys. If I didn't like them as much as I did, I wouldn't gone through trouble with this. So yeah, thank you to them, and yeah, see you guys later.